We're going to talk what? Crankbaits?
Crankbaits, hard baits. You got a table full here.
Quite a collection there. Yeah. I love it.
Hey, let's just kind of simplify it and focus on that wintertime / early spring.
Sure.
Water's still kind of cold. We'll talk a little about colors. We'll talk a little bit about profiles. We'll talk about, hey, when I see a crankbait, what does it tell me? What can I learn from just looking at it? That sounds really ambitious, but I think we can get it done. So.
Yeah, let's do it.
The award-winning Tennessee WildCast is on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Tennessee WildCast. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching and listening. Another fun show for you today. Mr. Jason Holland is back with us. Jason Holland Fishing on social media, all his channels out there at Jason Holland Fishing.
You got it.
We're glad to have you back.
Thank you. I am so far 3 for 3. Or is this 4 for 4? I don't know.
This is the fourth time.
Fourth time.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I didn't think I was going to get past the first one. I got home after it. I was like, honey, it was a great time, but that was it.
But I ain't going back.
I ain't going back. Yeah, I burned that bridge real fast.
You know, it just blew up, on social media, so we had to have you back.
Well, viral. I have that effect. Viral. Not like viral as in good, like a viral as a virus, but it's a whole nother conversation.
Okay, all right. So, did your wife lay out your clothes for you today?
Of course you did.
Okay.
I mean, who doesn't have? If you got the wife, why would she? I mean, she's better at it than I am.
Yeah. I like the coordination.
Yeah. Well, she said, hey, that hat looks nice in the shirt, and got it. I would say she pressed it, but no, she had a dry clean for me.
Freshly pressed.
Yeah. So I smell nice. Trim my beard, so I look as presentable as I possibly can.
Yeah. Good thing you smell good. It's a radio show, and you watch on social media, so I don't know that does you much good.
No. Well, I mean, I do it for you guys.
But I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Don is totally happy with me showering and getting cleaned up before I come do this show.
6 feet. 6 feet.
Yep.
Social distancing, that is actually the distance that it takes for the smell to dissipate. So I understand how it all works.
Oh, man. Well, what have you been up to? We talked rigging last week. You been fishing any?
Not ever enough. I mean, I don't know if I went daily, it wouldn't be enough. But, doing some fishing. It's getting that time of year. I like to fish more in the winter, but like a lot of fishermen, I use that time to, clean reels and grease them and change outline, just all that stuff that is necessary.
Yeah.
But I'd love to go fishing in the winter. I mean, honestly, I think you catch some of the best bags and biggest fish in the winter. And the fact that a lot of guys are either, deer hunting or they're hunting of some sort, so the lake's clear of a lot of boats and traffic. Of course, the pleasure boaters, they're not going to go out in the snow.
Right.
So I love getting out. I mean, it's cold and you got to bundle up. But if you get the right gear, and of course I'm carrying about a solid 35 to 40 pounds of insulation. So, I got my personal SEAL suit built in. So it's not nearly as bad. The skinny guys, I don't know about them.
You just leave your coveralls at home.
Yeah, I mean, I just go out in T-shirt and flip-flops. Are you kidding me? It got to be negative or snowing for me to put, additional layers on. It's not true. It's not true. Fat guys get cold too.
Yeah.
But I enjoy fishing in the winter. But again, it's a great time for me to really do the maintenance that needs to be done. So hopefully, tournament seasons usually kick off. There's some frostbite tournaments at the end of February, and then really that March time frame is really fishing takes off. So I try to do that. Not enough.
Well, it's still early in the year. Let me throw something at you. We didn't talk about this, but is there anything new out there that you would suggest folks to use, try out for 2021?
Bait-wise?
Bait, rod, reel? All right. So
I mean, there we go. That was a big. Can you edit that out? That big long pause.
That was great. Okay. All right.
All right. Well, perfect. That felt like a lead balloon. Let's not do that one again.
I figured Cashin or somebody might have something out there worth trying.
I mean, it's not really. I mean, it's there's
still the same great products that you had last year.
Always great products. No, I would say really last year because there was such a shortage, so you didn't see a lot of innovation coming out in the fishing industry.
Sure.
One, because, prototypes and stuff, because a lot of that stuff comes from overseas, never really showed up. Everybody was behind just from not having materials to make the products. And then you compound the problem when everybody went fishing. And so you had this kind of perfect storm where they couldn't get supplies, hooks and components and just all the stuff to make bait. So what we really saw was the manufacturers taking stuff and tweaking them. Like Rapala came out with a new color. We're actually going to have it to talk about on this show.
Cool.
So you saw new colors. You saw more tweaks to baits that they had. mega bass, jerk baits came out with a different diving. So you didn't see any like just big wow, holy smokes, it's changing the industry kind of baits. You just saw more tweaks, and I think that was just a product of the environment of what was going on. And we're still in that scenario. I mean, there's a lot of the rod and reel manufacturers, they just can't get product. Again, that whole piece coming from overseas, it's hurt and slowed down the process, yet the demand is through the roof. So again, it's been kind of a wild time. And it's not just the fishing industry. I mean, you take the automotive industry, for example. I mean, they're waiting on chips and components from the computer systems. And so they're typically 2 to 3 weeks behind right now on production of cars. And so that domino effect doesn't just affect the fishing industry, just manufacturing as a whole that depends on foreign countries for product. I mean, it's just been, it's been tough. Yeah. So I think we'll see once everything kind of, whatever it looks like. I'm not going to say the new normal because if I hear that word one more time, I'm going to bash my own head in. But whatever that looks like, once all this is, we're never going to be over it or behind it. It's always going to be part of the makeup. But I think once manufacturing gets back to where it's flowing better, I think we'll see some stuff. I imagine ICAST, which is the big show for dealers and for everybody in the fishing industry as a whole, it's where they come out and roll out new products. I think we'll see, I would think this year, probably some pretty cool, innovative stuff because they've had some time. So, long-winded answer to a really short, simple question, but I think it's coming. But again, it's just mostly tweaks.
Speaking of ICAST, do you attend that regularly, or?
I try to. It just depends on how it lands. Of course, it's in Nashville, so that always makes it nice. The last couple of years, I've been in Orlando. I was in Vegas for a couple times, so I try to go. Because, as fishermen, we always want the newest, the latest, and greatest and get some cool ideas. So I tried to attend. This year was virtual. It was okay. I mean, we're all learning how to deal with what's going on. And it wasn't what it normally is and the excitement and the anticipation of it all. Sure. But, we did the best we could. And it was still pretty good. Yeah. Some pretty cool products to come out.
Maybe we could do a WildCast from ICAST this year.
Hey, I don't know why we wouldn't. I mean, that is a prime, especially being in our backyard. I mean, that'd be a really cool. And then maybe if we're lucky, we can try to get some of those guys to let us maybe launch or announce a specific new product on the show.
There you go.
I mean, with your pool, actually, that's wrong. With Mr. Don's pool, we probably could get that done. I mean, it literally is one text, and then we're launching the latest and greatest whatever.
Well,
but
when you hear Don King, you know something's going on.
I mean, something's happening. Something's moving and shaking.
You got it.
That's a great idea. But we're not going to talk about ICAST. We're going to talk what? Crankbaits?
Crankbaits, hard baits. You got a table full here.
Quite a collection there. I love it.
I'm curious to which one. I won't go there. They got some new colors.
We did. We got new colors. We're going to talk about, again, depending on when you listen to the show, it's going to be in that wintertime, early spring-ish. And so there's so much to cover about hard baits. There's no way you can do it in one show. So I figured, hey, let's just kind of simplify it and focus on that wintertime / early spring. Sure. Water's still kind of cold. We'll talk a little about colors. We'll talk a little bit about profiles. We'll talk about, hey, when I see a crankbait, what does it tell me? What can I learn from just looking at it? That sounds really ambitious, but I think we can get it done. So,
let's do it.
Hey, all right.
I'm excited.
All right, good. Well, I'm glad we're talking about crankbaits because I brought a lot of them. We got them on the table. If not, we're going to wing the entire show. Yeah. So, again, it's water temperature is still pretty cold, and so we talked about in earlier shows. Again, everything's slow. Everything is just really lethargic, and you want to make sure that what you're throwing is going to match that overall, not only profile of bait, but just what that bait's doing. So I will start with the classics and what most people have started fishing with. And what I have not thoroughly contemplated was the fact that these hooks are going to catch everything on this table. So if you see me jerking around, I'm just trying to get the baits unhooked. But it's the Rapala Shad Wrap. I brought a couple different sizes, larger profile, smaller profile. But cold water, these is where they absolutely shine. It's a really tight wobble. All that means is as it wobbles, it's not jumping all over the place. It's just really more in line, and it's just kind of rolling back and forth. And again, it's that slow, subtle movements. It just matches what's going on. Wintertime fishing, early spring, and the great thing is they've been around forever. You can pick them up a lot of places. A couple ways that you can fish it.
It's a good-looking bait.
It is, and I got to be careful. I got a buddy that I fish with. This color, I call it carp color. I'm sure there's a better name for it. To me, it just looks like a carp. There's certain lakes, and I won't say because this is how he wins a bunch of money, but this color on certain lakes in certain parts of Tennessee is dynamite.
Okay.
And I just call it the old orange carp color.
Kind of looks like a big orange there.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a pumpkin.
Yeah.
Inside of a pumpkin, but killer bait. Again, both profiles. Just experiment. I recommend, hey, if you're tournament fishing maybe, just tie them both on and just alternate throughout the day and see which one you get more bite on, and then swap both of them over to the same bait in case you break one off.
Is this a floater? Does it float?
It is. So a couple ways that you can fish it. One, you can just slow, again, we talked about earlier, slow reel it. You can kind of work it like a jerk bait, reel a little bit, and just kind of pop your rod and make it kind of move a little bit, pause it. I call it the old stutter step where you kind of reel, then pop. Well, only thing you really want to do, you want to make sure that you're doing all different types of scenarios when you're fishing it until you really get it dialed in. Especially this time of year, they're going to be dialed into a certain pattern or a certain, it's called cadence, but there's going to be one that's going to outfish the other. So as you're fishing, try both sizes, see which one you get more bites on, and then just experiment until you figure out, hey, when I did this, I got bit. When I was doing another action with my rod or my reel, it wasn't working as well. So experiment. That's the great thing about fishing. Just keep trying something until you get it figured out. And once you do, just keep repeating it.
Then you call it catching.
You do. I wish I did more catching than I did fishing. I'm really good at fishing, not so great at the catching part.
Yeah.
But Shad Rap, check them out. Again, I love that color. Red's always a popular color as well. And then depending on what lake that you're fishing at, you can get that shad color as well. But excellent bait.
Okay.
All right. Moving on to, now these are a little bit harder to find. They're not made anymore. But we'll talk a little bit about the action. Well, let me go back real quick. The way that you can look at on a crankbait, I always question is how deep does it run? Well, the great thing about Rapala is they actually tell you on the bait the size of it and typically how deep it'll run. Take some guessing out of it. But if you don't have that option on the crankbait that you're using, the bill tells you everything that you need to know. So if we look at this specific bait, has a longer bill compared to this one, which has a shorter bill. So the longer the bill, the deeper that it runs. That's the simplest way to think about it. Longer bill, deeper running, shorter bill, goes more shallow. Depends on the lake, where you're at, what you're doing. If you're up, say you're fishing the back of a pocket and it's real shallow, you don't want the bait digging in and catching every rock, every stump. Now, what I will say is, as we get later on the year, that's a great way to catch them. You get, say you're fishing in 4 foot deep, throw a crankbait that runs 8 foot. And so that bait the whole time is just banging off the bottom. And it gets their attention, they'll come over and bite it. But, again, we're talking colder water, winter, early spring.
Right.
You want to try to, you're not wanting that bang action. You're not trying to do all that. You just want that nice, subtle, soft roll.
Yeah.
But, good rule of thumb, longer the bill, deeper it runs, shorter the bill.
Now, what about the width of the bill? Does that play a factor?
It does. And really, not necessarily when you look at it, say, okay, well, the bill's wider, then it's going to do X. What it really means is as the bill gets longer, they have to expand that plastic just because it was real long and real skinny. It just snap off, just the resistance of the water. So as the bill gets longer, let's just say in this crankbait, as I unhook it, it's a prime example. So it's longer and it's also wider, so it's obviously going to run much deeper.
Okay.
So that's a good rule of thumb when you're looking at crankbaits. So flat-sided crankbaits. Typically, you throw flat-sided crankbaits in the wintertime. All that means is, same thing we talked about, the Shad Rap, you're going to get that because it's flat, you don't have that real big wide wobble, and it stays a little bit tighter. So this is actually a Bandit square bill flat side.
So they don't make those anymore?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
One time I could ever find them is I actually bought this one at the fishing show that they had a little while back in Lebanon.
Okay.
And a guy had a bunch of old baits and dug through and found this little jewel.
Wow.
But again, flat-sided crankbaits. This is the Bandit flat side. This is the Unhook 'em, maybe Strike King. It just came out last year with a flat-sided crankbait designed for wintertime fishing. Reds are always good colors, greens, yellows, orange, just that. Again, The red, I don't know why red in the spring. It's fall, the wintertime and early spring. They're on red, and you better be throwing red.
Yeah.
You're gonna get beat and not catch as many fish. But flat-sided crankbaits, this one, as you can tell, has a more rounded bill, wider bill, longer bill, so it's going to dive a little bit deeper. It's in that 8 to 12 range. The Flat Max from Bandit. This is another unique little feature. If you can see it or not, it's got more of a squared bill.
Yeah.
So it's not a complete square. It actually has the edges are filed a little bit, but what that bait does is it doesn't dive as deep, but it has a different action opposed to a rounded bill. So it gives you the ability to mix it up, but flat sides, and you can do a square bill or you can do the rounded bill. Now, we talk about square bills a little bit. If you talk about later spring, summertime, strictly square bill fishing, which I've got one here, I mean, it is a solid square. I mean, it's got the 9 degrees, and what these baits are designed to do is do opposite of what was going on in the what you wanted to happen in wintertime. That is, you want this sucker bouncing off everything you can. You purposely try to drive it into trees, into branches, into rocks. And the way that these run and they're designed, as they're coming across, and let's just say here's your rock, because of that square bill, a round bill would just hit and dig in, and then you're hung. The square bill, because of these sharp edges, is designed to hit and then deflect. And where you get a lot of those bites is as it hits that rock and it's swimming along, everything's great and kind of that normal pattern. All of a sudden it hits and, shoots a foot left or shoots a foot right. It triggers that fish and it just instinctively goes and bites it.
He can't stand it.
Yeah, and well, here's the thing. So fish bite for two reasons. They bite because they're hungry or they bite just out of their predatory instincts. And so depending on what bait you throw, it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. So, for instance, say later in the fall, all the shad, getting big balls of shad in the back of creeks. Well, those fish are feeding because they're hungry, right? They're feeding up, getting ready for winter. Well, when you're fishing for them, you're fishing for that, eating instinct. And so you'll throw for baits designed for that. Times that, say, in the summertime, the water's hot. They're not really active that much. So let's just say that water's in that 80 degrees. You're not trying to go for that feeding bite. You're trying to go for that instinctual, they call it the reaction bite. You'll hear that term used a lot. And all it is, you're tapping into his predatory instincts. So that bait comes along, hits a rock, and darts left or right. He doesn't think about it. He's not necessarily hungry. He's just going to go attack because he's a predator. He's going to go attack and eat it. And so when you're fishing, you think about, all right, what am I trying to do? What am I trying to accomplish? And, of course, the ultimate goal is to catch fish. But if you think through the mentality of what I'm throwing, what am I trying to trigger? Am I trying to trigger because he's hungry, or I'm trying to trigger because I want his natural instincts to kick in? And it's just another way to look at it. That's a whole another hour-long conversation we can't get into.
That's
but
another real secret from Jason Holland.
See? Hang around. I'm not just a pretty face. I got a little bit. Not a lot of knowledge, but just a hair. Again, square bill, springtime, when fish start getting more active, water starts warming up. They've been going through the winter, not eating a bunch, and they're ready to eat. Square bill is a great way to do it.
Still staying with that green or red color, probably.
Yeah, that's where I like to stay. Here's the way I look at it when it comes to baits. Unless I'm trying to do something that is completely off, and there's times for that, like for instance, red in the spring and in the winter. It just works. I don't know why, it just works.
Yeah.
But the way that I will think about color choice, and that's one of the questions I get all the time on my social media. Hey, what color do I throw? Don't overcomplicate it. All right. So I always throw natural colors. And the way that I can, in my mind, is that when I look in the water and when it's relatively clear and I can see the bottom, what is the tint of that water? Is it more greenish? Is it more bluish? Is it more brown? And then from there, fish will have a tendency within their overall body makeup, their color will go and match the more natural surroundings. And so, again, I'm trying to be as natural as I possibly can. Unless I'm trying to mimic a white or shiny shad, I'm going to throw something that when I look in the water, it gives me a rough idea of what that color looks like. And so I will match my hues to that color. Not a perfect science, just a good way to start.
Okay.
I recommend Kevin Van Dam does a video. It's about an hour video on YouTube talking about hues and colors. It's fantastic for the guys that want to get out in the weeds a little bit. So there's another one. All right. Another great wintertime and springtime bait is the Rapala. It's called their DT. And all that means is dives to. And so this is what they call a DT6. So as I stab myself and bleed on the middle of the show, DT6 meaning dives to 6 foot.
6 foot.
They are wood baits, so they're more buoyant. And wood baits, balsa baits, hardwood baits, they just have a different action than what we looked at before, were plastic.
Okay.
Other than the Shad Rap. Shad Rap's a wood bait as well. I would say most, if not all, of Rapala's baits are wood, a wood and a plastic resin on the top. I'm a big fan. Not sponsored by them. I pay retail just like everybody else does, but they just catch fish. Now, they are a little bit more sensitive and finicky, meaning you fish this all day and then you throw it in your, say, in a cooler or somewhere that's wet. Again, it's wood. So what happens is if you got a little crack or a little dingham in the paint, soaks in water, and then you could blow your bait out. Just be smart with it. You know, throw it on your dashboard of your boat. When you get back to the garage or, you know, whatever, let it dry out. No problems. I mean, this is Demon color. All right. So Demon is probably the most sought after and used and most popular baits color in the Rapala DT series in wintertime and springtime.
It's a good looking color.
Yeah, it's got the kind of a purple sparkly finish, like that technical term, sparkly.
Sparkly.
I don't know if you knew that or not, but that's a professional term. On the top, and then that red that kind of fades into an orangish on the bottom. Fantastic color. I throw the DT6 and I throw the DT10. They make a DT14, 16, 20. They go all the way through the depth ranges, but typically this time of year I'm going to stay 6 and 10, maybe even the 14. But check them out; those are fantastic.
Can you get that color in the other Rapalas?
You know, I don't think so.
Just curious.
But it's this color actually. They had some custom colors. Mike Iaconelli, they're called. He goes by Ike, and he went out and actually designed some specific colors for the DT series. And so I'm pretty sure they're just regulated these specific Ike colors to the DT series.
Gotcha.
Not 100% sure. You can check out their website, but
I was gonna say if it's biting on that one, it'd bite on the other ones. I would think.
Yeah, and it's a great color.
Yeah,
I mean, you don't have to just throw it in the wintertime and spring, but that's really where it's going to shine the most.
Sure.
Here's another new color. It's pretty cool. And it's the DT6 of the DT series that we just talked about. But
that's the new color you're talking about.
It is. It's got Ott Defoe. Yeah, Ott Defoe out of Knoxville, Tennessee boy.
Defoe.
He's been on WildCast before.
Yeah.
We've been in his man cave garage.
I've seen the trophy. Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Well, apparently he's more popular than I am around here. Well, that's a shock to me. We call Ott and tell him I'm not really appreciating.
Shout out.
Yeah, him being that professional and that popular. But no, Ott made this color. I believe it's called Big Shad. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that's the right name for it. It's got kind of a green top, purple, with a little bit of a yellow streak, and then instead of going to white or a bone, it actually goes to a grayish color, and then it's got this blackish greenish stripe across the bottom. Another bait. Speaking of baits that we talked about earlier that came out, the OG Slim, which OG Slim by Rapala. It's a really cool water bait. It's a flat-sided bait, kind of like we talked about. Well, when I heard it come out, the OG Slim, I thought OG, like the original gangster. I mean, that's what most of us think when we hear like the OG. Maybe it's just me. But to my dismay and my edification of what it really meant was it actually stood for Ott's Garage. And so Ott actually took that bait, and the story goes he hand carved it and messed with it to get the OG Slim. Still think it sounds better, original gangster Slim, but apparently Ott's Garage is really what it's about.
Yeah.
Another bait that's really cool that I like to throw this time of year, even into the spring and sometimes summer, is this is a Spro Little John, and it's a flat-sided. But the way that the weight is distributed, it actually has a pretty wide wobble. So if you want to do something a little bit different, you can throw the Little John by Spro. Little John stands for John Cruz. So John Cruz, who is the owner of Missile Baits on the Bassmaster Series, been around a long time, actually designed this for Spro. And they got a smaller version and much bigger versions.
That's a matte finish, too. It's different than what you've been showing off, that glossy finish.
It is. I like it. Just, again, when they get conditioned and they're seeing over and over and over, Because what I'm telling you is not some life-changing secrets, guys that fish a lot. I mean, these are the baits that they know.
Right.
And so just to change it up, go with the matte finish, go with the flat side, go with a different wobble to the bait. Again, just giving them something different, especially those high-pressured lakes. Check that one out.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
That was almost fluorescent.
It is.
Color.
And smallmouth, the more bright and stupid color, the more smallmouth love them. I don't know why. But I mean, the pinks, the chartreuses, the fluorescent colors, they absolutely love to. And in my opinion, is typically when you're catching smallmouth, you're in more of a clear water reservoir,
Right? Yeah.
And so they're sight feeding more than they are actual using their lateral line. Bass, there's a couple of different ways that bass, being a predator, use their God-given senses or tools that God gave them to be better predators. The lateral line is basically that line down the side of the fish. All that does is it picks up vibration, and that's why you have wobbles. That's why you have different actions with your crankbaits. Again, because you're trying to tie into that lateral line so they feel it. You take lakes like Barkley, or you take Old Hickory, who are a silt bottom lake, so it's got more silt in the water, a little bit darker color, a little bit dirtier compared to a Dale Hollow. That's why you're going to use baits that's got more wobble or more vibration, because they're not sight feeding. Conversely, you got smallmouth who are typically more clear. I mean, you could catch them anywhere, but you think smallmouth, you think up north, Lake Michigan, the Great Lakes, super clear. You think here, you think Dale Hollow, Center Hill, those different ones. It's a much clearer reservoir, and they're sight feeders. So not only are they feeling the vibration in the lateral line, they're actually seeing the bait from long distances and drawing it to them. So that's why I think smallmouth like brighter colors. Cool. I think are we close?
We're getting close.
You're reaching toward. My lady done dropped it on.
Talk about that spook.
All right.
I want to hear about.
We're gonna talk about real quick. You got top water bait. Most people don't think top water in the winter, but believe it or not, you can get them right as they're transitioning from that wintertime into early spring. They will school up sometimes in the back of creeks. Use a spook. This is actually a Guggen Baits. It's got a spitting mouth.
Yeah.
Always put a feather.
That looks like a fun bait.
Yeah, always put a feather on the back of your spook. We'll go into why, but do that. Another one coming up that's going to be really great early spring is the rattle trap or the rattling bait. Go to Nick and Jack, take this bait across the grass flats, let it hang up, pop it loose, and they will absolutely destroy it. Use red, use orange and red. Those are really good. And then last but not least, the ever popular jerkbait.
Oh, yeah.
Jerkbait is a staple in the winter. Fish it faster, fish it slower, fish it deeper, fish it shallower. But if you're not throwing a jerkbait in the winter or early spring, you are missing a bite. So check it out.
I love those little guys on creeks too. They're fun.
Oh, absolutely. And here's you can throw a jerkbait anytime. You can throw it all year long, but they really shine wintertime when it's cold. So check it out. Come check me out. Jason Holland Fishing, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all the stuff. So
awesome.
Appreciate you guys having me again.
Yeah.
You bet. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you, Don.
You bet.
Hey, it's been a fun one. Keep coming back. We'll have more for you. This is Tennessee WildCast. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hey, it's all about Tennessee wildlife. It's what we do. Tennessee WildCast will be on the air again next week. We'll see you then.